Hey everyone, my name is Ricky. Thanks for stopping by the channel today. Today I wanted to do a video of custom in-ear monitors. I've done a few videos in the past. Today I kind of want to talk about like the difference between doing a custom in-ear monitors and just your regular kind of one-fits-all type in-ear monitor. Is it worth it? Is it worth the price? What's the do you get some benefits out of it? I'm not going to go too much into the detail of what the biggest differences between them are. There's some great videos from some great YouTube content creators out there that have done a better job explaining that, and they some of them go through the process and show you why they're in the audiologist and all that. So I'm kind of not going to go too far into that. I'll make some references, but that's about it. What I really wanted to talk about today was one brand in specific called WAVS, WAVS, custom in ears, because that's ultimately what I decided to go with, and I'll tell you, why. What are my thoughts on them, and was it worth it? So, if that's something that you're interested in, stick around. Um, First off, I've been playing music off and on since I was a teenager, but I've only really been using in-ears for probably the last 6, 7 years. I don't play professionally on stage. I don't tour, none of that kind of stuff, but I play with my local worship team, and we use in-ear monitors on our stage. At first, it was a bit of an interesting transition. In the past, I'm used to the wedge monitors on stage and all that kind of stuff. There are some really cool, benefits to using in-ear monitors, and if you've used them before, you kind of know. A lot of reduction of on-stage sound, all that kind of stuff. But what is the point of going to custom in-ears versus just $20 to $50, $100 set that you can get on Amazon? First and foremost, if you're new to doing in-ear monitors, maybe you're a volunteer at your church like I really don't think it's worth running out and spending several $100s on in-ears. I would just get a set of $40, $50, maybe 70 at the most, something like a KZ-ZX10 Pro or something like that. If you're not sure that you're going to be sticking around with it, if you're not a regular member of your worship team or in a band where you guys are playing live gigs and stuff like that all the time. Now, if you are, planning on being on stage on a weekly basis, for years, that sort of thing, then I do think it is worth it. One of the benefits to getting a custom is that they obviously custom to your ear specifically. They fit in your ear. So, like, I've got mine in now. And, when you do things like this, if you're moving around, let's say you're jumping around on stage or whatever the case may be, when I was using the ZX10 Pros, for instance, I think they were pretty good, for the price. But me being, a semi-smaller guy, they were just, constantly feeling like they were falling out. They never felt like they, really fit in the ear very well. And so I was constantly, in between strums or whatever, or in between songs, I'm always kind of, doing this and pushing in. And with the customs, I don't even touch them. Once they go in, I don't even mess with them until it's time to take them out at the end of the service. So there's a bit of a confidence in that you're not having to fool around with it, and it's less distracting. One of the other benefits is, since it is molded to your ear specifically, they typically do a much better job of blocking out additional sound that is on stage. So for in my case, where my church is not a huge church, I would call it a small to small mid-sized church, somewhere between 300 to 400 members on any given part of the year, and our stage is physically small, and we have an acoustic drum set, and that acoustic drums is in a cage, a drum cage. So he's got the plexiglass and all that, but it still doesn't do the best when it comes to drowning out the noise. And being that the stage is so small, oftentimes as a guitar player or a bass player, I'm kind of positioned back and real close to the drum cage, and there's a lot of sound bleed through from that cage. And so with my one size fits alls, there's still a lot of noise that's coming through, and it makes it a little bit harder to adjust my mix in the. Our church uses the P16s from Behringer's, but you got many different versions. But just trying to get a good mix, it makes it a little bit harder when you've got all that noise coming through, and then you have your volume set up a little bit too high. And with the custom in ears, we were practicing. We practiced on Wednesdays. Today, as I'm recording this, is Thursday, so we were practicing last night, and I had these in, and I was just noticing that, like right off the bat, whoever used that P16 had the volume about halfway up, and it was still really loud that I had to go through and turn a bunch of stuff down. And in the past, I've actually ran the main volume, really high up, and then adjusted some channels down. But I would even have to turn my guitar channel all the way up with the volume all the way up just to be able to hear myself. And now with the custom in ears, I don't need that volume nearly as loud. So that is a benefit to the health of my ears in the long run, because I don't need that volume as loud. I don't find myself throughout the day after a Sunday afternoon with tinnitus in my ears where it's ringing and stuff like that. So protection of your ears in the long run, I think, is a lot better when you have custom in ears. So with that being said, I went ahead and tried this brand WAVS. So where's the camera over here? WAVS. You can see it kind of come in this nice little tin here. And I was originally looking at 64 audios. To be honest, I wanted the 6-driver set from them, but they're like $12.99. They're over $1,000 for those, and I'm just a volunteer at my church and I play often, but I'm not a paid musician, and so it kind of is like, as much as I would love to go ahead and have that set. It's a lot of money to spend, and you kind of have to figure out what your budget is and what you want to justify. I know people that think that even $100 or $200 is a lot of money if you're just a volunteer, on a worship team, and I'm not going to argue against that. I can understand that. However, my thinking is that, like, for me, I've been playing with this church for 6, 7 years, and there are some months where I might not play, just because I got maybe needed to take some time and just kind of relax a little bit, or had some things going on. Like in May, I'm heading to Kenya on a mission trip, so I'll be gone for half the month there. But for the most part, I play throughout the year. I play 2 to 3 times a month, depending on the month. And so I've been doing it for 7 years. So for me, it's like, I think that it is worth investing money in protecting my ears, versus just the generic, inexpensive Amazon in-ear monitors. I mean, it's funny because, even as a guitarist, like, well, I guess particularly guitarist, and drummers can be the same way, and keyboardists, but we'll go out and spend, $1,000 on a foot pedal setup, and that's probably on the low side, to be honest with you. A lot of stage church musician guitarists now are using Helix stadiums, fractals, and all that kind of stuff, and those things can be anywhere from $800 to $2,000, $2,500 just by themselves, and that's not even including the guitar. I've owned, throughout my lifetime, I've been lucky to own quite a few guitars that are well over $2,000. One that was probably about five, and two of them that were over 3,000. So, to me, it just kind of doesn't make sense that we'll spend all this money on these guitars and amp pedals and drums and Nord keyboards and whatever the case may be. But when it comes to protecting your ears, we kind of go, nah, I don't really want to spend the money on that. So, anyways, I ended up, I was getting a lot of advertisements on social media from this company called WAVS. I've been seeing them for years. And about the time that I was getting ready to order my Audio 64 or Audio 64s for myself, I had saw some advertisements from them where they had like this 40% off sale. So I clicked on it, and what I ended up doing was buying a set of 4-driver in-ears from them. Now, since I was going to go with 64 audio, I had already gone to an audiologist and had an impression done. And that's kind of another thing that'll go into, some of the cost. A lot of these brands, you got to go and get a mold made by an audiologist, and that could, cost anywhere, $100, $200, depending on the audiologist. The one that I went to, when I called them to ask and set up an appointment, they told me it was going to be like 160s. Now, I was, we'll just say blessed that the guy that I went to is not only a Christian and a church musician, but was a former professional musician that actually gigged in Nashville and different stuff like that. And as we got to talking about ministry and different things like that, he ended up charging like $30 to get the molds made, which is, I was very grateful for that. But generally speaking, you can expect to spend, $150, $200 on a set of molds. And then you got to take time out to go and have it done. Now, the process is pretty simple, but, very easy, less than 15, 20 minutes, and they're made. And then you send them into the company along with your order number and all that kind of stuff. And so I ended up going with this company called WAVS, and I had saw their transition over. I saw their website, and it looks like they still have this going on. Now, this is in March, so it says winter sale, but basically you can see the little code scrolling across the top to save 40%. Now, look, just to throw this out there, I am not in any way, shape, or form associated with WAVS. I have no affiliations with them. I don't get any, benefits for making this video. They don't know I'm even making the video. This is just, I wanted to throw this out there, tell people my experience. That's it. All right. So with that being said, you can see their website here, and the ones that I ended up going. So you'll notice across the top, this is hybrid IEMs and traditional. So the traditional full customs is the one that I went with because I already had my my molds already made. So this is what made sense to me. And I went with the quads. So you can see their original price is about $600, 40% off. So I, paid, maybe mid threes. I ordered mine back in the beginning of fall or something like that, or maybe middle of fall. I want to say it was probably somewhere around October, maybe the first week of November or something. And I didn't get them until, I think it took about 8 weeks. Now, it'll tell you down at the bottom that the average wait time is 2 to 3 weeks, but can take, anywhere from 4 to 8. Mine definitely took 8. But again, this was that fall time, getting closer to the holidays. Maybe they were busier at that time. I don't know. And I just want to mention this hybrid thing. So the hybrid thing with this company is one kind of unique with them. One of the guys that is on my worship team, I was telling him about, he was also going to order a set of audio, 64 audios, and I told him about these, and we ordered ours within a day of each other, but he had not gotten the molds or the impressions made yet. So he went with the hybrid, and I think he ended up ordering a 3-driver set. So now what you end up seeing with this hybrid, and what they do is instead of sending in a mold made by an audiologist, there is an app, I guess, that you download onto the phone. And then you basically take the phone camera and you move it around your ear, and it kind of takes, I don't know the exact technology, but basically it scans your ear and gets at least the portion that it can tell that shape. And now the big difference that I noticed as we were talking about ours is that the hybrids, they actually have those foam fittings on the end, right? Whereas the traditional versions, you'll notice that they don't actually have a foam tip. It is actually just the plastic at the end. So there's no foam tip. So basically, because they are completely custom, your audiologist, when they make these, they put this liquidized foam or whatever you call it down into your ear, and then it expands to the exact fit of your ear, and it goes all the way down. So you get a further, so it goes all the way further down. Whereas with the hybrids, it doesn't get this whole further down piece, right? It would probably just stop, a little bit further back. So that's why they use the foam tips on that. He likes the sound. So basically, when my experience with these is that I don't have an issue with the sound. I think they sound just fine. Sound pretty good. I feel like I'm able to keep the volume down, which is the big bonus there. And then a couple of the issues that I did run into is that when I got them, I noticed that unless I really push in and down, it doesn't fully seal. And so I do get a little bit of bass loss, like low end loss. I had reached out to them and they said that they would pay for the shipping back, and they would, basically take a look and see if they could, I guess readjust the size or whatever to try to get to. And I basically ended up deciding to just keep them the way they are, because I didn't know how long it was going to take for them to be able to do that. And I had waited like 8 weeks for them to come in, and my other set that I had just wasn't, was having some issues, which is one reason why I went to order these. And I needed them, so I was like, all right, I'll just keep them the way they are. It's not a huge deal. It's just something that I noticed. Now, I will say this, that they responded to the emails very quickly, and were quick to try to address the issue. So I will give them props on that. The second issue that I had was I have a few cats running around here, and one evening I sat down with my laptop and I put my in-ears in, and I was, this is after I hadn't had them very long, so I was trying to test them out, and was kind of messing with the mix a little bit. Now, obviously, you don't really want to do an in-ear audio to mix music, but I was more or less messing around with some stuff on a song that we were writing, and my cat had jumped up, and I didn't notice her. Real sneaky, real quiet, and she chewed on the cable. And I guess she had chewed where she had chewed. It kind of basically punctured just the one ear, so it was kind of going in and out. And this is very quickly. She did it in just a couple seconds. So I went ahead and ordered a new cable. I had ordered it and on a Friday evening. By Wednesday, I hadn't seen a response. I thought that was a little weird because usually they're pretty quick to respond. So I sent an email, and the gentleman there probably replied within 5 minutes and was like, hey, it'll be out today. UPS didn't end up saying that they received it until the following day, which ended up getting here on a Monday. I needed them the day before, which kind of sucked. It is what it is. So then when I get him and I get the new cable and I'm trying to put the new cable on, I went to listen to him, and the right ear was not working at all. And I thought that was a little weird. And I was like, well, maybe the cable's just not snapped in. And I kept messing with it, tried swapping the drivers from the different side. And again, it was this ear that was not playing. So no matter which side of the cable I used, this ear was fine. This one wasn't. Sent an email and get a reply back the next day. And he said, hey, we'll set up a time where I can call you, find out what's going on. He ended up calling me the next morning. We had a conversation, and he was going to have me send them back. And then after I got off the phone with him, I messed around with it some more, and I just was tinkering with it, and finally got it to connect. I don't know if it was just the part where the fitting kind of connects or what. I have not unplugged the cable since. I'm not going to. And I basically just told them that, hey, they're working now. Just, let's just document it. So if there does end up being another problem, we at least know that it's an ongoing issue. So all that to say that their customer service has been great. They have communicated and tried to work with me on the few issues that I had. I think that these issues were probably more or less just a one-off thing. And it's not something that I would really, try to point as a negative for them. So all in all, I think they're a good, so far they're a good company, good experience so far with them. I think that at the 40% off, they are absolutely worth getting versus just a regular $50 to $75 Amazon. I've had the ZX10 Pros. I have a pair of the ZASs from KZs. I've had the Moondrop areas, Moondrop 2s or something like that, area Moondrop 2. Those I listened to one time, and I ended up giving them to a singer on my worship team. Same thing with the Shure 215s. I gave those to another singer. I just didn't connect with either one of those. These seem to be pretty good. I do like these, and I do plan on using these for a while, barring no issues. The ZX10 Pros, again, if you're just volunteering and you're playing once a month or so, that's probably the route I would tell you to go. I don't think it's worth spending several $100s on in-ear monitors if you're only playing, once a month or once every other month. We've got a lady on our worship team that plays keyboard, and she might play 3-4 times a year. For someone like her, just get a $20 set or a $50 set like the ZX10 Pros or whatever. But if you're playing weekly to bi-weekly and you have been for a while and you plan on doing so for a while, I would suggest doing it. I think that it's worth if it's within your budget to get a custom set, especially with the ease of that hybrid where you can use your phone to scan it. You don't have to go to the audiologist and spend that time and that money. I think it is worth it. Now, look, if I had unlimited funds and all that, I probably would still have ordered the Audio 64s. They're a huge name brand for a reason. There's a reason why all the stars you see on stage, the big names, are wearing them. But again, a lot of musicians out there don't play in front of thousands and thousands of people, and I think this is a good medium between that, where you can get a good set of custom in-ears without having to spend a ton of money. And if you play often, it's worth protecting your hearing to use a custom set versus the generic ones. So that's just my opinion. If you guys have used in-ears, if you have experience with WAVS themselves, let me know what you think in the comments. These are just my opinions. Like I said, I've got no affiliation with the company. Like I said, they don't even know I'm doing this video. So, yeah. So, if you guys got anything, add it down in the comments below. Let me know what are some of your favorite brands out there. Yeah, you guys have a good one. Take care.